Next, let us understand Lambda layer. So what is the need of Lambda layer? Suppose that you are writing a Python code, and in that Python code you are using some external libraries such as pandas. So in order to make the library runnable in AWS Lambda, you need to something create called as Lambda layer. So Lambda layer is a package of libraries or dependencies that you bundle together and upload it to AWS Lambda function. You can add up to 5 layers to a single AWS Lambda function. Each Lambda layer can maximum have a size of 250 MB. Now let us see what are the steps you need in order to create Lambda layer. Now we will see how to create custom layer in Windows. First of all, you need to install something called as WSL. WSL stands for Windows Subsystem for Linux. So just go to CMD. Here write WSL install. So what it will do, it will install WSL on your Windows machine. I have already installed it. So let us say you are installing it for first time, it will ask you to set up the password. So always remember that password. Once it is done, what you have to do, just go to the document, create a folder. Now I'm creating a folder called as let me name as Lambda, and I'm going inside that folder. Now open CMD from here. Once it is done, the first thing that you have to do is you have to follow all these steps. First thing that you have to do is to follow all these steps. So first, I am just cloning the repository. So git clone this repository. This repository is provided by Amazon in order to create custom Lambda layer. So it's done. Now you have to go to this folder, particular folder, which is called as Python layer. Now you have to open WSL from here. So write WSL and done. Once it is done, just clear it. Now the first thing that you have to do is to update the system. So you have to write sudo apt update. It is asking for password. So password is basically, in my case it is user. So I'm pressing user, and now it is updating it. Once it is done, what you have to do, you have to install pip and Python 3 into this system. So you have to write sudo apt install Python 3 pip. After that, you have to examine the requirements.txt file. So if you just go inside that folder, go to sample apps, go to layer Python, go to layer, open the requirement.txt. I have one library present which is request. So I am basically creating a request layer. Now just close it. Now I have to install Python 3.11 on my WSL. So I am just installing it, Python 3.11. It is installed. Next, I am installing virtual machine, virtual environment basically. So I am installing this venv. Next, I have to create a virtual environment named as create layer. So this is the command for creating a virtual environment. It will take some time in order to create a virtual environment named as create_layer. Now it's done. What you have to do, you have to activate this virtual environment. Now let me just activate it. Let me just clear it. Now your environment is activated. Next, I have to install all the libraries which is mentioned in requirement.txt file. So this is the command for that. pip install -r requirements.txt. So it will install request package. So it is installing. Once it is done, next you have to create a Python directory. So mkdir python. After that, you have to copy all the file from this into that Python folder. So it will take some time in order to copy all the things into that Python folder. Once it is done, what you have to do, you have to create a zip file for that. So my zip file name will be layer_content.zip. So I will just zip everything inside this content layer_content. So it is starting zipping. Now in the meantime, I am opening my AWS. Here I am searching for Lambda function. Now I am going to the layers. So here it is asking, first of all you have to create a function. So let me just create a function called as test. Runtime I am choosing it as Python 3.11. Architecture is basically it is Linux, so ARM64. Rest leave everything as default and click on create function. Now it's done. Now what I have to do, I have to go to something called as layers, and here I have to click on create layer. Give your layer a name. So my layer name is, if you remember, it is request. So it is request layer, and here it is asking me upload a zip file. So what I will do, I will upload a zip file. So as you can see here, there is a zip file created called as layer content.zip. I am going to upload it. Layer content.zip. I think this is, yeah, this one. Sample apps, layer python, layer content.zip. Okay, now it's done. Next, compatible architecture is ARM64. Runtime is basically Python 3.11, and I am going to click on create. So this is how you create a Lambda layer. Now how to use it? Just go to the function that you have created. Here let me just write one more code, import requests, and here you have to add a layer. So click on add a layer. On custom layer you have to select something called as request layer. The version is 1 and click on add. Once it is done, you have to click on deploy. Now you have to click on test, give the event name as test, and just click on save, and now click on text. Now as you can see, it is successfully run. So this is how you create a Lambda layer and use it inside a Lambda function.